Salutations, Yarima here. This segment is actually going to be Voices from Behind the Wall. So I want to do a segment, and I actually should be doing more of these, um, uh, dealing with our brothers and sisters trapped in those Desmo crypts called prison. And the reason I wanted to talk on this subject is because I think a lot of times we it's kind of like people that go to war, out of sight, out of mind, and there's a certain stigma. And I think sometimes we get caught up in that stigma of the negative as opposed to um, realizing that people just aren't perfect and that mistakes are made. But when it's an intentional peace, Audrey, peace, Queen. So when it's an intentional, Brandon Penn, I see you. When it's intentional by the system to put people behind bars, I think that we need to start questioning like the restructuring of that system. And I bring this up because so many will say, well, they committed a crime, so they deserve to be where they're at. Um, and not, but when we look at the corruptness of the system, I think that we have to question, like, okay, do they really deserve to be where they're at when we know that the system is corrupt itself? And so, I got friends who are doing life sentences right now, and it's like they haven't killed anybody, whole life stripped. And when I look at the dynamics of the system, when I look at, because I was in the system, so I understand that the majority of the system is comprised of poor people, people that didn't have any money to fight, people that were given that were assigned public pretenders. I mean public defenders, which really they are public pretenders because they really don't care. They have no vested interest in the outcome of the case. Their caseloads are stacked. They know that they got a paycheck coming. Most of the people that are coming through their caseload are black, brown people. So and most of them are white. So there's really no vested interest to really put up a serious defense for this person. So if you come in and you're really pleading innocence, it doesn't matter. And then that mixed in with like what Judge Olu Stevens is going through down in Kentucky, where he complained about the composition of all white juries when you have mostly black defendants coming through your courtroom. Well, you see what they did to him. They ostracized him. And so a lot of times we get caught up on well, they said he committed a crime. So even when 20 and 30 years later, this person gets found gets found that he didn't actually commit the crime, that he was innocent, so his whole life is thrown away. And so there's a flip side because it's a design. It's a design. And so once you go in, it's like the Roach Motel. Once you go in, it's so very hard to get back out. And the system is designed like that. And so the whole process is to like break you. It's to like break you down. That's from the start. It's to break you and make you docile. And then if they can't break you, a lot of times they become deadly. And so I got a song on my first album where I'm talking about, and I'm talking about it strictly from the inside, from what you see on the inside, and which is why I want to talk about it from the outside now. So from the inside, I say something to the effect like, my tour of duty lasted way more than 18 months. Forget following orders. I was seriously wounded once. This ain't the Army or Air Force. I was in the BOP. They wanted me DOA, but I had a DATE. My tour of duty lasted me 19 years in that bitch. I saw men flip, cops switch, and soldiers snitch. I saw dudes sell their souls for 37-cent stamps. I seen some work their way to USPs straight from camps. I saw fags wearing Kool-Aid lipstick and chalk eyeliner. I seen a dude go to the hole from visit for fondling a minor. I saw a dude who had 5 years and ended up with 30. His son just got indicted and now he's looking at 30. See, I saw some ABs who wish they could have raped Asada. Them same fags, they joined the Muslims. They went and took their shahadas. I seen a lot of women get escorted out of them spots for fucking. I seen a lot of convicts get their shit split open for bucking. See, while they fighting over oil and contracts in Iraq, here in these U.S. prisons, there's division between the whites, browns, and blacks. There's a race to see who can turn their stamps to stacks. It's either $5 or $6 books or 5 or 6 max. And so, in the context of that song, I'm talking about, and I'm using some code language for people who, some of it is code for people who would only know that language if they've been in or they're actually still there. But it paints a very dismal picture because it's a very dismal place. And so from an outsider looking in, listening to that who hasn't been, you think that you really think there's some real devastating things going on and you're dealing with the worst of the worst. But it's like, how do we get to that level? How did we get there? How did we get there to even, for me to even put that into lyrical content to put it out? The system starts in on us. They start in on us. And when I do my talks about the school to prison pipeline, when I really actually started seeing that picture, and putting the pieces together, I could kind of see my own journey, how I even got there. And when I started looking back and reflecting back on my life, and I'm like, wow, the system the system really prepares you. And it's even worse now. Like it was the beginning stages. Like when I was coming up, and even then it was in full swing, but it was so unrecognizable, like you really couldn't see it. But now when I look back and I'm like, this system, how it's designed, and it's designed for the poor. You find very few rich people who get caught up in this snare called prison. It really is designed. It's designated for the poor. And then when you look at and then taking it back to the slave system and how there was a perpetual building of, even when the slaves were quote unquote set free and then automatically recaptured into a penal system now and bartered back out to the same plantations that they were just freed from. And then so you have that the prison leasing, convict leasing, then you move into Jim Crow, then you move into mass incarceration. So there's always been that slavery element that we've had to deal with, and we have always been at the forefront of that. We've always been, whether it's he looked at a white woman so he raped her, or whether it's some other trumped up charge that people have had to face. And so it's almost like our young people a lot of times prepare themselves, like, because subliminally they see it, so they kind of prepare themselves, and then they get prepared unbeknownst to them because they go through a school system that sends subliminal messaging to prepare them. School to prison pipeline. And I won't go into the dynamics of that, but I do want to specify that we have to take a very microscopic look at the system and its purpose and intent. Because its purpose, what I will tell you is that its purpose and intent is not to eliminate recidivism. Its purpose and intent is not rehabilitation, which I don't even really like that word, rehabilitate, because much of the rehabilitation needs to start with the system, because there would be no purpose, there would be no reason for us to have to rehabilitate if it wasn't for you in the first place. So there, and that's not to say don't take it the wrong way, like I'm saying like nobody deserves to be in prison, because there are some there are some people, quite frankly, that are deviant, that they can't function on a social level. They have no social skills. They just can't function in society. I don't know that prison is for them, but we do know that we do have those people. But I'm going to tell you, I was in, and the percentages are far, far smaller than what they make it to believe. I mean, out of my time that I was in, I would say you might have had 2% that probably really needed to be there. They can't function in society on any type of level. If they're out here, they're going to be on some predatory type stuff. There's going to be some murder, some mayhem, that kind of stuff. 2%. When you look at the system, it's the majority is nonviolent offenders. I mean, really. And then they mix in the predators and that with the nonviolent offenders. So there is never any rehabilitation. The other factor is mental health. So since they have cut the mental health facilities down, shut them down because they don't claim they don't have the funding. Well, I mean, if they weren't giving so much money to all these other countries like Israel and all these other things that they're trying to do outside the U.S., they would have the funding. But since they claim they don't have the funding, they've cut down a lot of the mental institutions. Well, mental health is something that we don't like to talk about, but it's an issue, especially within our community. Well, guess what? Those people go to prison now. So it's because they don't have any place to put them. So now they go to prison. Well, you put in mental health, people with mental health issues, put them in with nonviolent offenders, mixed in with the predators, mixed in with all these with the whole racist conglomerate of staff, and we expect people to come out better, but we always look at the prison, at the person convicted of the crime. We always look at them. We never look at the system. And then people will say, well, no system is perfect. Well, yeah, no system is perfect. But we need to, especially when we're dealing with people's lives, we need to try to get that system to as close as perfect as possible. We really do. Because that's what we're talking about. We're talking about the lives of people. And so we know that the system isn't perfect because every year a certain amount of people get out who have been found innocent. Every year they get out who've been found innocent. Some of these people do 10, 20, 30 years. And then the state don't even want to pay them. They don't even want to pay them for those lost years. They don't even want to pay them. And so, like I said, man, I got partners that didn't kill anybody. It's funny because I was talking to a white guy the other day, and he was, he was surprised. He was like, man, I would have never suspected that you've been in prison. And I was like, yeah. And he asked me for what? And I told him, and he was like, you did that long for that? He was like, you could have murdered somebody and got less time. I said, yeah, actually, that's a fact. I've seen that. I've seen murderers get 3 to 5 years. Like I saw a dude while I was in who murdered, got 5 years, and then got out and murdered again, pled it down to manslaughter and got 3 years. So he had 2 bodies, but for somebody who, quote unquote, was supposed to be selling some drugs to make some money, and then part of it, then the other thing is the part of the trap is, well, you can plead out to 10 years, which on those 10, you're going to do 8.5, or if you take it to trial, now you're going to be looking at 25, 30 years. And so for the person who's actually innocent, I mean, it's not even really a choice. And then for the person who's innocent, who really believes that they're going to see through this BS, and they're going to see that I'm innocent, and then they go in and they decide, no, I'm going to trial. I didn't do it. I'm innocent. And then they go in and get banged out because you're going in front of that all-white jury. So as soon as the jury steps in the courtroom and they see black, oh, you're black. Oh, yeah, we got you. Yeah, guilty. Wait, we haven't said anything. Kurt hasn't even started. Oh, my bad, Your Honor. I'll wait. And that's basically how it goes. So which on the flip side of that, if like 25% of people just took their cases to trial, they would bust the system. The prosecute they wouldn't even be able to fund that. If 25% just took their cases to trial and said, you know what, I'm going to try you. Prosecutors would probably, plea bargains would be lowered. They might even probably have to let somebody go because it would just break the system. But actually only 2% take their cases to trial. The other 98% plead out. And so, that's the dynamic. So you get caught in that system. It's kind of like out here. If the people just came together and said, no, we're not going for it anymore. Well, what would they do? There's not enough bullets to kill everybody. But the people, they go for it because they're like, so that's what happens. And so the system continues to work like a well-oiled machine, but it's really not well. The system is corrupt. The system is broken. The system has innocent men, women, and juvenile children in its grips, and it's never addressed. It's never addressed. And Obama can let out all the nonviolent offenders, which he's not letting out enough, even though he's let out more than any other president. He can let out all the nonviolent offenders, but at the end of the day, until the system is fixed, the same fuckery is going to continue, and that's basically what it is. And that fuckery is going to be, unfortunately, it's going to be black, brown, and poor people who are going to catch the hell for that. And we're going to continue to have situations where 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now, somebody's getting out who was found innocent. And I always say, man, we have the luxury of DNA testing has let so many people out because of DNA testing. But what about the people who don't get the luxury of DNA testing, who got trumped up charges? Look at how cops, just think about this. Look at how cops cover each other. And we talk about, well, there's good cops. And my position is, well, the good cops aren't standing up against the bad cops. So if you're not standing against terrorism and assassinations, then you got to be with it. So taking that premise of how cops cover one another, you don't think cops are lying in their police reports, getting people convicted? We see how they're covering each other on these killings out here in the streets. We see how they cover each other. I just did a YouTube segment the other day about how 5 cops, I think Eddie Jones, the police superintendent in Chicago, how he's trying to fire 5 of them for covering up on the Laquan McDonald case. 5 of them. Now, the one, they're trying to, Van Dyke, they're trying to take him. I think they fired him and is taking him to court. But, and Lord forbid, the jury don't find him guilty. If he gets off, he's going to get his job back pay and all of that. So, and that's what happens. So if the cops are covering for each other, then come on, common sense. They're lying on cases to get convictions. They're going out because they don't like somebody with black skin. They're lying. They're fabricating cases. They're writing false reports. I went in and I had to go through all of that on my case. I went through all of that, the lies, the deceit, and I was able to show them the inconsistencies in statements. Man, white juries are not trying to hear none of that. They don't hear none of that. Guilty. That's the only thing they know. And so it's unfortunate. It's really unfortunate, but it's why we have to take a closer look at the system, and have people on those forefronts who fight that. It's just real because basically I don't know too many black people in this country who don't. I mean, I'm not saying I know every black person because I don't. But the black people I do know, I don't know any that don't know somebody who's incarcerated, don't have a family member or somebody who's incarcerated. It's ridiculous, man. It's ridiculous at the level. And so, you'll get these bourgeois that come out and say, well, you shouldn't have committed a crime. I mean, you really, really, are you really? Come on, man. Come on. We see what's happening out in the street. So you don't think the cops are lying on police reports to get people convicted, to get people into a court of law to begin with? You don't think that that's happening? We're seeing people, black people, get shot in the back out here, just getting shot with their hands up. No, officer, please don't shoot. Don't shoot. Boom. So you don't think cops are fabricating police reports? Wow. Well, I tell you what, if you believe that, I got a bridge in Brooklyn to sell you. It's worth millions. You'll love it. So, with that said, man, my name is Yarima Karama. I just wanted to put that out there. We have to, we look at the system from inside. We look at the people in and are like, and for real, because I've been in, I look at people out here, and I'm like, they could. Man, look, I see people every day that can very well be in prison because the tendencies, the actions, all of that are there's not too much difference. As a matter of fact, I always say this is just a bigger prison out here. It's just a bigger conglomerate out here than the smaller population prison where people do time. This cipher is just a bigger one out here. So with that said, and the other thing is too, how can China have over 1 billion people but have less people in its prisons than the U.S.? Come on, we know it's about money, and we know that especially with the private prisons, they have made deals, backroom deals, lobby deals, and all of that. Hey, you got to meet certain quotas. You have to lock up a certain amount of people, which will propel officers to fabricate cases, write false cases to get people locked up. So it's a game, man. It's about money, man. How can you have a country with 1 billion people in it, over 1 billion people, but they got less people in their prisons than a country who's only 1/6 of the world population, and we have the largest prison population in the world? Come on. Does that mean that, and then within that population, black people are the majority in the prisons across the U.S.? Come on. We don't commit more deviant acts. I always say, man, our worst criminals could never be worse than the criminal acts inflicted upon us by white racists. So with that said, man, my name is Yarima Karama. Peace, blessings, salutations. I won't stop the fight, Brother Anthony. No, sir. We definitely gotta keep going. And so, we do this till the grave, man, until everything's right the way it's supposed to be, And so, with that said, my name is Yarima Karama. Love you all, man. And hit me, www.yarimakarama.com. Also, don't forget my album just came out today. I'm a little frustrated that it didn't come out on iTunes for some reason, and it was supposed to come out, but it is on Spotify, Amazon, Google Play, and a host of other digital download sites. So, and I'm gonna get out there. Kev. Real talk. I'm gonna get out there. I'm working on some things right now to get out there. It's time to travel. And so with that said, be looking for that up from the trenches, out of the tombs. Otherwise, just hit me up. Let's network. Let's build. Let's grow. Let's be successful. I'm out.